So the spring purge came late this year. In fact, it was kind of more of a summer purge. And each year I kind of start out reviewing my kit, I suppose, and deciding what I'm going to use this year. Some years there's almost no change, some years there's quite a lot of change. This year is quite a lot of change year, I guess. So stuff that's out and has mostly already gone is the Olympus EPL8. And I had that camera for quite a while, quite a few years, and it was a bargain when I bought it, and it served me really well actually. I think the biggest problem for the EPL8 was the Lumix GH3, because every time I was looking for that kind of size camera to take out and use, I would just always pick up the GX80 in preference. And that's partly, I think, or quite largely really, to do with the controls and the viewfinder. Lack of a viewfinder on the EPL8 was just a perpetual annoyance for me. I do like a viewfinder, an EVF, if at all possible. Some of the controls are a little bit fiddly on the EPL8 as well. You know, I think I've said before, I use exposure compensation quite a lot because I'm generally an aperture priority shooter. So it's easier to access that on the GX80. It's just more intuitive, less button pushes to get there. But I did enjoy the EPL8, nice camera. Another piece of Olympus stuff that's gone is the 9-18. And I had that, I have to check how many years I had that lens. Had it for a long time. And I loved the output from that lens, but I just didn't love the lens really. I know it's a bit plasticky, but it is a real bargain in terms of what it can deliver. The thing I hated most about it was the need to press a little thing to unlock it and extend it. And when it's extended, it was quite long. Just a little bit of a fussy design that I didn't really like. To give it its due, one thing you could do with that lens was, which you can't on a lot of ultra wides, is you could put filters on the front of it, so that was good. However, it's gone. Another camera that's gone is one that I bought as a kind of a bargain cycling type travel camera, and that was my Lumix G6. And this camera, I really enjoyed using it up until fairly recently. We had a day out down near the front at Southsea, and we visited the castle there and all sorts of bits and pieces. However, we had the dog with us, and so I needed to be able to shoot one-handed quite a lot of the time. And the one thing that was a problem with the G6 was shooting one-handed. Whilst it had a reasonable sort of grip on it, you know, enough of a grip that you could actually hold the camera, the big problem was that where your thumb went on the back of it, where that little bit of my thumb is there, was right on a button called DISP, the display button. And what that meant was every time I would pick the camera up to my eye, if I touched the DISP thing, it changed the display. And of course it cycles through a whole series of different settings for the display, and some of them you can see, you know, what the camera sees, and some of them you can't. And by the end of the day, it had just driven me nuts. Every time I touched this thing, it would set off this cycle of having to go through everything to go through the full set of display options to get back to the view I wanted on the camera. So one-handed operation is nowadays a thing for me. I need to be able to shoot one-handed, at least some of the time. So G6 had to go, so that's gone. Another Lumix camera that's gone was the LX2, and I think I covered this in another LX camera video, but it's just too small for me. I just couldn't read the screen properly, so that had to go. Otherwise, that was a good little camera. And then there's some lenses that I just don't use enough. I've moved on. One was the Canon EFM 28mm macro. Good lens, great lens, really nice. It had its own inbuilt light for macro, that was good. But problem with it is that I always, when I'm going to do macro of anything pretty much, I will just pick up the EM1 and the 35mm Olympus 4/3 adapted to micro 4/3 lens, because that works really well for me, and I've been using that for years now, and it's just ultra reliable on the macro front, and yeah, that's my go-to. So whilst I thought I would use the Canon on the M6, the Canon 28mm on the M6 more, I didn't really, so that's gone. And a couple of Viltrox lenses for Fuji. I had the 85 and the 56mm, and I'm just not using either of them, to be honest, so they're taking up space and funds that I could use elsewhere, so they're both gone. Incoming, after that purge, incoming, I think in another video, I've got the LX7 and the LX100 are both included there, and they've both been incoming, and they've both been, I'm really enjoying using both of those for slightly different reasons. LX7 is just such a handy everyday carry type thing. It's that's brilliant. Lumix G1 and G2, both retro thingies, and both cameras came in at, for the pair, well under £100, and I think they're bargains at that sort of price for the pair of them. And they're covered elsewhere as well in another video. Replacing the G6, I actually bought a GH4. I wasn't intending to buy a GH4 really, but I was intending to buy a GH3 because I think that's kind of more like the spiritual successor to the G6 for me. However, I ended up buying a GH4 instead. Yeah, I just did. We'll come back to that on another occasion. I've also ended up with a GH3 as well, but that's only because it came, I'd moved on from the GH3, having looked at the specs and everything and looked at all the reviews. I thought, why not go for the GH4? So I did. And then a GH3 came up at an absolute bargain price. Well, I thought it was a real bargain price anyway. And that's what we're filming on now, the GH3. And we'll come back to that in another video as well. So I've ended up with a GH3 and a GH4. Lens front. So I decided to go for the Lumix 7-14 to replace my 9-18, and I'll cover this in another video as well, but well pleased with it so far. The only real downside of it over the Olympus is that you cannot attach filters to the front. That lens hood is integrated, and there's no threads or anything at the front, so that's a little bit of a step down, but not massive. The other lens that's incoming, or has been incoming, is the Panasonic 42.5mm f1.2. It's quite big, as you can see, and even without the lens hood, it's a weighted little stub of a lens. Very nice, beautiful thing, and this kind of replaces for me the Olympus 45mm, which I had it a couple of times and I never really enjoyed using it. So this I'm enjoying using. So that's all good, and that's it for now. So hopefully now I can get, not that I've been stalling or anything, but this is the equipment I'm hoping I'm going to enjoy using in 2025, now that we're over halfway through 2025.